And hola, week 2, the ultimate 30-minute on-camera audition prep. So week 2's homework was to come up with scenes. And the most effective way to probably do that is to watch your favorite movies or TV shows and pick a scene that you love, right? Don't overthink it. Don't get, oh, well, is it this and is it that? Is there a part in it for me? Just pick what you love. Remember when we did the list and we said, choose something that you love, one thing you're proud of. Don't think about it. The first thing that strikes you is the most important thing. It's kind of like when you go in for an audition, usually your cold read, if you've done enough preparation, is the best read you're ever going to have because it's what's closest to your subconscious and you're not aware of it. So it's your personal truth is the first thing that actually shows up. So after you've made a list of each of those scenes, now what I did say in last week's homework was if you were smart, you went ahead and transcribed these scenes because we're going to use them later. It would make it easier to jog your memory when we start answering these next 4 questions about each scene. So you've got a list of shows, and I believe that if I look at the homework from Antoinette, she listed shows, and then we got into scenes. On 3 different pieces of paper, just start with one piece of paper right now. Write down the scene. Write down what you love about the scene. Pick one scene, the first one we're going to work with. Write down who you identify with in the scene. And why. So when I say who do you identify with in the scene, which person whose emotional life or whatever they're going through do you feel for? Which person do you root for? Which person do you love? Which person you say, oh gosh, that's me, or that could be me, or I understand what that feels like. That's what it means. Who do you identify with in the scene? And then the why depends on the given circumstances. It often has to do with from your list or your dream jar that we worked on last week. It could be one of the things that you love. It could be one of the things that you fear. It could be one of the things that you're proud of in your career. It's one of your themes. That's why you identify with it. And then, so the why is figure out which one of your themes it's triggering. Okay? And then what is the emotional event in the scene? And by that, I mean, what is at stake here emotionally? Because that's what drives good writing. If there is no emotional event, then it's just exposition, which happens a lot, which is not a good thing. But more than likely, you're identifying with a scene that's not just exposition. Something is actually happening emotionally. Something is costing someone something in the scene. Their dignity, their humility, their love. They're losing something emotionally or gaining something emotionally or learning some emotional lesson. What is that lesson? That's what I mean by the emotional event in this scene. Do I have any questions? Is that clear? So I will give you an example. The first scene that always comes to mind for me is Waiting to Exhale, the scene between Loretta Devine and Gregory Hines. It's towards the end of the movie. Her son has just left home for college, and she's sitting there commiserating with her next door neighbor and friend, Gregory Hines, who has been there by her side through this whole difficult process of her son leaving the nest. He is in love with her. She is not aware that he is in love with her. In this scene, she says, I'm going to be alone, and he was the only person in the world that loved me. I was the only person that loved him. He was my everything. I'm alone. No one's going to love me. And Gregory Hines says, I love you. And she keeps talking because no one's going to love me because I'm just an old woman and I'm just fat and don't nobody want me. And then he says, I love you. And he says, I love you at least 5 or 6 more times before she hears it. He just goes, I love you. No, I love you. No, but listen, I love you. I love you. And finally she hears him and she breaks down in tears. She hugs him and then she starts making out with him. Now, for me, the person that I identify with in this scene is Loretta Devine. And the why is because one of my fears is that I will not be loved properly or the way that I should be or by someone worthy of me. That is why this scene triggers that emotional chord for me. If I were going into audition for that scene, that's the place that I would start emotionally before I spoke the first line. I'm afraid that no one will love me the way I deserve to be loved. And then I would just start the scene. Because remember, your emotional cord is your personal truth. You can't run from it, you can't hide it, you can't make it up. It's the life lesson you're here to work through. It's something that your heart and your emotional self and understands completely. Your rational self may not. So it's really important, like when you're playing any kind of role as an artist, not to have judgment around what you're seeing, right? Storytelling is allowing emotion to live. We tell stories so human beings feel like they have the right to be vulnerable because it's the thing that we're afraid of in real life. It's what drives all of our stories. It's why we're watching. So it's important to be honest about these things that come up as your chords and to identify them as they come up. It's super important, and no judgment, right? Because that why, which in my case is fear of not being loved, would drive how I played that entire character. Right? So the emotional event of this scene is that the character that I identify with realizes finally that someone actually does love her in the way that she deserves to be loved. Because what's interesting about this scene is as we all watch it, as every person sitting in the audience watching the movie, they're very aware of the fact that he's fallen in love with her. He's cutting her yard. He's going to the basketball game for her child's basketball game with her. He is fixing stuff in her house. He sits and listens to her problems. He makes her coffee. They're doing everything together that people who are partners do. She's the person that's missed it, right? So the emotional event in the scene always has to do with the person you identify with. It is the thing that is happening to them that they are realizing a way over, around, beneath, or under. And once you know that, all you have to think of is, what is my chord? I'm afraid that no one will ever love me the way I deserve to be loved. And if saying your chord out loud does not move you, then it's not close enough. It's not specific enough. It's not, I don't think that anyone will ever love me. I don't think that anyone will ever love me the way that I deserve to be loved. And I mean romantic partnership love, right? That's very specific. I understand that. It's not saying, oh, I'm never going to find somebody. Oh, nobody's ever going to love me. I didn't say that. The chord is I'm never going to be loved the way I deserve to be loved, which is a very different thing. And it's a very specific intention to put in your mind before you start a scene. So that when you start the scene, you're starting from a deep emotional place that you don't have to do any conjuring to get close to. You know what that feels like. And then you just say the lines and listen and respond. That's it. The key is to make that chord as specific as possible. So what you're doing is pulling from the lists that you made last week, and then you are planting those recurring themes into the scene you've chosen. You've chosen the scene because it's related to those emotional themes that you wrote about. That's just inherent in the process, right? So that's the first step. And I'm hoping that you've done this with 1 scene, 2 scenes, 3 scenes. Because now I'm going to open it up to questions, and I want to talk about what you see in these 3 scenes. Okay? So let's do that for un momento. Antoinette.
Always picking on me. What?
What did you learn?
I know. So you're thinking about my scene. You want all three or just you said do one?
Well, I want to talk about what you see coming up in all three scenes.
Oh, what I said was I saw love, and the part where I think the scenes where they will fight sort of for what they think is right, even though people may think it's wrong, but they don't care, kind of, sort of. I'm going to fight for my kind of cause. I had Belle, the one with Breakfast with Mabel, when she uses them, when she's asking them why, pretty much why she's not being treated kind of like the way she's treating the other Black woman that's serving. Is she a slave? Mm-hmm. She's not a slave, she's free, but she's being treated a little different. I think, and then her push is to push them to really say what they really are doing. Why aren't they treated? Why is she being treated this way, and why is she being treated this way? And I think to show that, do they love her, or she's there because her father put her there, you know, and you have to. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you're kind of low.
So what is the emotional event of this scene?
I think
for her.
Huh?
What's at stake for her?
She may lose out. They may say you are like that woman, and you are being treated that the same way, even though we're putting up a front for you. So, and I think she wants to push them to either be truthful. Am I being? Are you really? Is this a lie? Is this a facade? And how long will this last? Will this bubble break eventually, that I'm being treated sort of like, I'm not as being treated as well as the white girl, but I'm not being treated like this person. So what's happening?
And who are the people that she's asking this?
The parents, the father brings her to his family and says he had to go back. He would be back. Okay. And he left them with his family to take care of her.
Okay.
Because she's a Black girl the woman he loved that was Black, right?
So her fear is that she won't be loved by whom?
By the people that she's in the house with. And anyone, probably. Her dad's gone. Her mother's dead. Who's there for her?
But they're her family, correct?
They're her family, but they're not going to act like they're her family. They're not really we are your family, but we're not really, we can't really say. It's like an embarrassment, kind of.
Do they ever say that?
I'm trying to remember the whole movie. I don't remember. I haven't seen it for a while, but
so what I'm getting at is that what's happening for Belle is happening for Belle.
Right.
It may not necessarily be the truth.
It might not be.
But it's her
truth.
Fear. It's her truth. Right? That's a chord. I won't be loved for this reason, because of the color of my skin, because I'm illegitimate, because I'm Black, because I'm a girl and boys get wealth in the family, because they're not my immediate relatives. There's a whole bunch of very valid fears that Belle has about being truly loved and accepted as a member of a family. She comes from, she lost her mama. The mother wasn't married to the father. Then her father drops her off with some other people who look completely different from her.
She said, I'll be back, and then he doesn't come back.
And her mother's a slave. There's a whole bunch of precarious stuff. Now, on the other side of it, these people love her very much. They have no idea that's what's going on in her head. They're like, what we've given you is amazing. Nobody else would have acknowledged you. We love you like a daughter, right? So it doesn't occur to them in their mind to address that she may not. And because she is Black from a slave that was not married to her father, was her mother actually her father's slave? or
I
somebody
thought he
else.
was a slave. I think he loved her. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. I'm trying to remember. He did love her.
It was at the very beginning, and
Yeah,
then
and she didn't belong to him. She belonged to somebody else. But the fact of the matter is, he wasn't married to her, and slaves have no rights,
right.
right? And according to the law, if her mother was a slave, she's a slave.
But the woman that they say, she asked the servant, was she a slave? And he said, no, she's not a slave. She works here. She gets paid a very good salary. She gets paid. She's not a slave.
That's right, because they're also British. And
Right.
I'm not really sure about the years up in here, but I think slavery had ended. But either here or there, the British had, I'm trying to remember, how long did the Brits have slavery actually in England? I don't think very long. I think most of their slavery had to do in their colonies, and that in the city there were free people or indentured servants. Right? But she was making that adjustment. I'm not remembering all the details of the movie.
But I think you see in the beginning when she's young, she's running, she's free, she's playing. She probably doesn't even think as a child. You don't even think there's a difference. But then you start to notice there is a difference. And
when your mom dies and they take you someplace and you don't see nobody that looks like you.
That is true.
And there's lots of wealth and servants.
And you're being served, and you're being served on also.
You're being served by people that look like you. And the only people serving you are the people that look like you.
Right.
How horrifying. Right? And nobody's talking about what that might mean in her head.
Right.
The emotional event for her is, I need to know that these people love me in spite
of my
color and class and caste, that I am loved like a daughter. And then the onus,
even if they do, it's still hard to believe.
Yeah, but then the onus is on them to show her that.
Right.
Because the rest of the movie gets very, very tricky. And they do have to come up out of their stuff and step up in ways that they would not have for their white daughter. So the fear of not being loved because of who you are and where you're from. Real. Did you find a similar chord in the other scenes that you chose?
I didn't have I couldn't go back because you can't go back and whatever. Why can't I think of it right now? But you can't go by to scene one. And I always remember Nova in the scenes, more of the loving scenes with the white guy was in season one. And you can't look at season one unless you pay for it. So
Queen Sugar.
Go back. So
okay, I actually think that you are. I think that you are dealing with the same chord, and here's how I'm going to tell you why. I want you to go to thedreamunlock.com/sides, and there is a Queen Sugar scene, the breakup scene between Nova and
the white guy. But the thing is, I said that she really loves him, and I said it's such a contradiction in the show to watch her. Her fight is, black people and all this stuff, and she's in love with a married white cop. All the things she's fighting against, and all the things she's making right, and in her body she could not control that love she had for him, the attraction she had for him. She could not. She just she would give in, and every time he shows up, it's like she gives in to it because their bodies just work together.
Well, I'm going to throw something out there in the stratosphere. This is the same exact chord as Belle.
Okay.
Because the reason that she breaks up with him, I only know this because I know the scene because I coached a client through Showcase with this character, and she did a bunch of her scenes, is she breaks up with him because he calls her on her bullshit.
Yeah.
He calls her on her black people bullshit. Okay? And if he's truly your partner, it doesn't matter what color he is. He should be able to call you on your black people bullshit, correct? And she did not allow it. She drew this line in the sand. She's like, you're white, you don't know. Right? So she puts him out of her house. But really, he says to her, how are you going to rally for black people and get them drugs at the same time?
Right. I love that about her. Her whole life is a contradiction. I just love it.
And because he hit close to home and she was looking for a way out of that to make sense of the rest of her life. Her story of being the powerful Black activist who's always poorly treated was her story. She was committed to that story, which meant she had to actually break up with this white man, regardless, because this is her story, right? She's self-destructive. This is her story. So not only does she choose a white man, she chooses a white man that's married, a man that society would be mad at taken because of his color and because he's married. So that her story can be, I never get loved the way that I deserve to be loved because of where I'm from.
And he was a police officer because she was always fighting for the rights of people and how police treat them.
And he was
a cop.
I mean, it's a deep fear of not being loved because of where you're from and who you are.
Right. Her
caste, her race. So she just lives out a bunch of behavior throughout the series to make that her story true. Very destructive. It's the opposite. Like Belle is actually trying to ask. Belle has been walking around feeling I won't get this love. Nova is committed to making that story the truth. But it's the same fear.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Ask me my third one.
Yes. We usually pick the same chord.
And in Gladiator, I always love the scene when he goes and dreams that he's going home to his family. And again, he's a slave. And they took him away from his family and made him fight. And he really loves his family. I always love the scene of him going back in his mind that he's going back to his family. He sees his wife and he sees his child.
Why?
Because that's where he belongs and he wants to be there. And they won't allow it. And he won't be there. It just gives me a really comfortable feeling, that scene. And he goes to her at the end when he dies.
Who do you identify with?
I think him.
Going home after being a slave and people are still waiting and accepting him. I don't know, it sounds dangerously like the same chord, huh? But you picked the chord. You picked one where we don't know how it's going to end. Then you picked the same chord and we're like, she about to fuck this up. And then you pick a chord where it all works out. See, you looking for
him. He's dead.
But in his mind, no matter where he's been, no matter who he's been, no matter what he's done, his people will love him. Even if he had been a slave, had been whipped, had been castrated, had been whatever, sodomized, all the horrible things that happen to slaves. In his mind, he knew that his people were still going to love him.
I told you it was about love.
Fear of not being
loved
the way that you deserve because of where you're from, your color, your class, things that are beyond your control, who you are at your core, or who society says you are. That's the chord.
Okay.
Write that down.
Write that down. I'm gonna listen to the recording again.
Oh, okay, great. Go back and put this into a sentence. I would like you to give some thought.
You said fear of not being loved.
Fear of not being loved because of who you are, where you're from, your class, your race, because of things that are beyond your control. There's a fear that you wouldn't be loved. You wouldn't be loved because of that. Insert blank.
Okay.
And you picked her, you went around race, you went around class, you went around the whole gender.
I was all different eras.
But it's the same chord. It's a lovely chord. It's deep. It's deep. And it's all around family too, which is also in there. All of these are situations where people should be making family with the people that they're worried won't love them. And for some reason, they're not making family. And they fear it's because of who they are. Is that clear to everybody? Does that make sense?
What'd you say?
Is that clear to everybody? Does that make sense? Do people have questions?
They're sitting.
That makes sense.
I'm just pleased to be here now.
We're gonna move super fast.
I'm happy. I'm glad.
Because
Sorry, you
don't
all.
worry.
I just didn't understand what was going on.
That's okay.
With my technology.
Oh, well, because we've changed it a little bit so that you guys can't join before me and then end up in another meeting.
Gotcha.
Which can happen on Zoom. Happens a lot. Especially now that you have your own Zoom accounts. So I want you to take this chord and I want you to come up with a poetic phrase. I want you to take a visual thing that you see yourself as. For example, I have a client who is 5 times more badass than I am, like really badass. She knows what I'm talking about. She's taking this class, but she's taking it on the recording and then sending me her work. And one of her chords is the iron butterfly, which I think is beautiful, but it's perfect. Perfect. In her work with me, acting and writing, it's been about vulnerability. And I was like, and she kept having these issues in her work from playing a scene and writing a scene. Well, the whole story can't be about the man finally falling in love with her at the end, can it? That don't make no sense. That doesn't happen. I was like, and why not? You wrote an entire play where he has been helping her and falling in love with her throughout the entire play. And then at the end, you're going to make it something else? Why? Because I can't imagine a world in which that happened. And I was like, what would happen if the character has to now become vulnerable? What happens then? She didn't answer me. She answered me the next week with a new ending in which she did make herself vulnerable. And he was like, it's about fucking time. I've been loving you the whole time. Right? Like, she's like, I had to work through that. So her thing as she's going back looking at her work is vulnerability. And she sees her journey of becoming vulnerable like that of a butterfly bursting out of the cocoon. But her cocoon has been iron. And now that butterfly is trying to get out. And I think it's a wonderful metaphor for her. It's very resonant. So I want you to give some thought this week to writing about this fear of not being loved the way you deserve because of who you are by the people who's supposed to love you the most. So let's talk about that. And here's what will help you. I want you to keep watching scenes.
Watching what?
I want you to keep watching scenes. And I want you to watch probably epic or historical scenes because epic storytelling tends to have more beautiful imagery. Fantasy work has more energy, more imagery. Things built on myth and great stories that have existed for hundreds of years have great imagery. It's what made The Color Purple so famous, is because it's treated like this 400-year-old myth. You feel like this is a story from the Bible. I'm about to hear it, right? And it's the imagery. I'm going to make 2 little girls as the archetype of every young girl everywhere. And I'm going to start the scene with 2 tiny little girls singing a children's song, trying to catch each other across this beautiful verdant gold field. Everything about that image says youth, innocence, the promise of yes. And then they can't find each other. Or when the minute they do, they're pulled apart. And the images we see are them trying to get back to each other or being dragged away from each other, and the loss of innocence. Epic storytelling tends to do that really well. Really, really well. I would say that Game of Thrones has beautiful visual storytelling, right? And I think that it comes from seeing this emotional type as something larger than you, as something that is a life's lesson, a life struggle. If you could put that into imagery.
So I am supposed to write something from what I wrote. Write something or write a...
Here's how you're going to get to it.
Huh?
Here's how you're going to get to it. I would like you to do morning pages every day this week. And I would like you to write about movies.
About what?
About movies and scenes that you love and which scenes and which images. Just free form write every day. Stay on the page for 3 pages without stopping.
About stuff.
Yeah. Whatever comes up. And don't stop. So here's the key. Did you all see my video about, I don't know if you guys are on my writer's list, about the morning pages, about how to do them? After the Badass Writer group. The key to the morning pages, and I think that the morning pages are the way to discover your heart's desire. It's the way to get at your artistry, because it forces you to stay on the page and wander around in your feelings, fears, discoveries, aha moments. It's like meditating. You can't put that pen down until you've gotten to the end of 3 pages. And the way that the body works is something gonna come up. Even if you have to say, I don't know what to write, 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 because your hand will be like, fuck this, you better write this. Like, it's just the way the brain works. It will jump. It's a thing that we call monkey brain in meditation. I find that the writer's page, the morning pages, are a concrete way to get through that monkey brain. The thing that when I'm meditating, I have such a problem with, but when I'm writing morning pages, it goes away. So, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, washing the dishes can be your meditation. You pay attention to your hands in between the water and how you feel. And writing can be your meditation. It's you commit to one thing without stopping. And you allow whatever to flow through you to flow through you. You don't control it. You don't start making lists of things you got to do later. You come back to what wants to come up for you. It's a very clever way to work, I find, to become more intuitive and to learn what your heart's desire is. Because your heart's desire is actually never going to lead you wrong. The problem is we're conditioned not to listen to it. And so we do a whole bunch of stuff that we think we're supposed to do. And that's when your heart's desire goes, ah! Like literally, it just goes, ah! You just wake up one day and you go walk into your job. You're like, if that man, my boss, comes in and tells me one more thing, I'm going to stab him. And you start having dreams of stabbing him and there's blood all over the desk. It's because you've been not listening to your intuitive side that's saying, it's time to change. It's time to do something else. And you are fighting me by, well, my mama said that you got to have a job with benefits. But your heart's saying, you're fighting me. Okay, you got a job with benefits that you hate, but you're going to have a stroke from all this stress. But you actually need to start listening to me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this horrifying for you every time you go into work. Your heart's desire is going to say, okay, you want to keep working like that? Oh, 7 to 7? Okay. All right. I'm going to give you indigestion. Okay, you're not paying attention. I'm going to give you ulcer. Okay, you're not paying attention. Now you're going to fall out at work. I bet you're paying attention now. Oh, okay. Your heart's desire. It's totally connected to the physical. It is a way to get in touch with your intuition. Another way besides buying malas in lapis lazuli, which I actually find really, really, whatever I'm struggling with, I actually go and find tools for myself to work on that thing. Intuition as a teacher is what I'm working on. Not so much in my life, I'm really good at that. But as a teacher, so I can hear what my students aren't saying. Right? So I can hear their intuition so that I can hear my intuitive understanding of what's happening, right? The morning pages are great at getting at your truth, the things that you don't want to really talk about. Thank you, Antoinette. And now I will go to Jonah. Jonah Tata. How are you, Jonah?
I am so fine. It's so good to be here. I am so glad to see you all. A trial to get to here.
Oh.
That's all I have to say to you. And the pieces that I have to show to you today, they are very nice. It's so nice. They are from Atlanta.
Okay.
And it's I did the first episode in Atlanta. First of all, I think Donald Glover is a genius. I do. And the show is so bizarre. But the first time we see it's Myra Lucretia Taylor and Isaiah Whitlock standing in the door of the house with and Ernest trying to come home, and they're just, how you doing? He says, can I come in? No, can't afford it. No. And the parents they're just right there in the doorway to keep Ern from coming in. But he's like she's mother says, I'm so glad that Ben got rid of you. He said, you remember that I am your son, the father of her child, Lottie. And she says, yeah, I'm Team Van all the way. So she is they're giving him no assistance in life. But they're not wishing him any ill will either. He's just not coming in. And I love that scene. It's so simple.
Who do you identify with in the scene?
Huh?
Who do you identify with in the scene?
Oh my God. I identify with the mother. I totally identify with Gloria.
Why?
She's like, you had your chance. No. And when she says, because she's real. I think that's what it is. That they don't use the term tough love. That's not a concept that comes up. They're not having it. She's gonna take care of her grandchild when she needs to, because he's like, well, whatever the baby's name is needs to be picked up, and he said, I mean, you need to call. She said, I got that. We got that. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, we got it.
So she does what needs to be done without a lot of talk or discussion.
Absolutely. Yes, she does.
Okay, and in this particular scene that you're talking about, what is the emotional event for her then?
I don't know that she would be as self-affirmed as if her husband wasn't there as part of the affirmation. She sincerely wants to not accept any of Ern's literally shit, because she talks about that too. You need to eat some real food. Shit. I checked it. Check that. Number 2, you need to eat some real food instead of the candies and cookies and nonsense. So she wouldn't be as firm because it's her husband blocking the door, but she's standing right there at the screen.
It's hilarious.
not gonna even think about letting him in. But the very fact, they're not, what I think I like about them also is they're not, there's no attempt for the actors to play nice people. They're not mean people, but there's no winking at the fact that I know I'm not, the Cleavers, Wally people or whatever. I'm not those people, Beebs people.
But you still haven't told me an emotional event. You've told me the facts of the scene and your thoughts about what's behind it. But what is the emotional event? What is at stake for this woman?
The emotional event, I think I must say, is if I let my child in the house, he's not gonna do right. I'm going to be weak again and let him in. I need to be strong.
Good.
Yes. That's what I think.
So it's not just like vicarious hard-assness.
No.
I'm tough to protect my child.
Yes.
I am vicious in my protection of my child.
Yes.
I will protect my child by any means necessary.
And I
There's
will
no filter around that. Right. There's no hedging. It's unequivocal. All right.
He was at Princeton and dropped out. So it's not like he got there. Yeah. So
that's hilarious. Yeah, I can see you doing that, Shona. What's the next scene?
Now this I took it from your website,
Mm-hmm.
and I know it's from Scandal. I think I don't know because it doesn't have a title on it. It says "Damn Shame." I tell you, maybe I didn't read what scene it was from, but I like what it said in the monologue.
What is it saying?
And it felt like it was her mother, Olivia Pope's mother.
Mm-hmm.
But there are moments where I'm not sure that it's Olivia Pope's mother. It feels like the mother talking to Papa Pope. But
what does she say?
It says, "Damn shame. I tell you, being a black woman, I tell you, being a black woman, be strong, they say. Support your man, raise a man, think like a man. Well, damn, I gotta do all that. Out here working, and so who's out here working for me? And that's what makes me think maybe it isn't her. But let me keep going.
Keep going.
Carrying my burden, building me up when I get down. Nobody. Black women out here trying to save everybody, and what do we get? Swagger Jack, and there's some word missing because it doesn't. Swagger Jack by white girls wearing corn. What's missing here? Swagger Jack by white girls wearing cornrows and bamboo earrings. Ain't that a bit? We still try to help all y'all. Get nothing. Is that admirable or ridiculous? I don't know. I know me sitting here is ridiculous when I could be helping, but you don't want my help. You want to do it all by yourself, Mr. Big, strong black man. God forbid you let a sister like me help you now. You don't want that. Don't let me put you on my back when you fall, wipe the crust off your eyes, put a pep back in your step, because when we do, you resent us for making you better, smarter, stronger. Then drop us, then drop us. So, there it is. Then drop us so you can do with someone so you can be with someone basic. Love that. Got all that baggage. You left us with, but we still try. That's why I'm here, trying and saving and trying to save like we do. Here I am, admirable or ridiculous. Yeah, so that's the monologue. I like that monologue.
She has a couple like that. I'm trying to remember if this is the one where she's in prison.
That's what I think it is.
And they're coming to ask her for her help to protect Olivia. Or when she's like, okay, I'm gonna be benevolent, I'm gonna be the black woman to save everybody, but can you have that $50 million plane ready to drop me to this island that you gonna buy for me? Because she does another one there where she's all dressed up and she's like, okay, bye-bye. And you see her from the last time you saw her, she was in prison in Orange. Right. Now she's getting on a Concord.
Keep a perm in the bottom of a pit. I mean, I can't figure that part out.
Perm and Botox. Okay, it's done. It's done. They must have a special budget in federal prison for it. Because Candy
has
done. She's like, I will be goddamned. I do not have an ugly black woman complex. You will not see me snatching a wig off, walking around with a nappy head, being sad in a row. That's not who Candy's going to be, ever. She's on primetime episodics. She is always Botoxed, coiffed, and snatched.
She believes in the Botox. She believes in the Botox, but
And fashion fair.
she can so give it. So
What's really funny about this entire class is you reading the monologue and then Hillary's facial expressions. I mean, it's genius. Antonetta's like, that's true. Hillary is like, I can't even believe this got said on TV. That's true. That's true. You're the old woman in the back of the church, Hillary, just like, yeah. That's who you are. With a little baby face. I'm telling you. I told you this last week. Hillary's a 60-year-old black woman, raised 4 sons, sent them to college, all Ivy League, one's on the Supreme Court. She's still living the projects with a wig and her Neiman Marcus dresses. Okay. Hillary's still that woman. Shona.
Yeah.
What's the emotional event in this epic monologue?
Well, actually, it feels like she's the mouth of Shonda Rhimes. That she's speaking some truth, some things. So what is
What's the emotion here that's driving this?
Huh? What is it?
What's the emotion that's driving the speech? Okay, let me put that another way. What is the emotional trigger? So if this were a writing class, I would say, what is the inciting incident that makes this scene happen? What makes her start talking?
Yeah, I know that what you're saying there, and I honest to God, I haven't seen the scene in a very long time. So I don't remember what it is, but I know they want something from her. That's
if you just read the monologue, you're overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
If you just really listen to the words of the monologue, the emotional trigger is there. Who is she talking to?
I believe it's her husband. It
And he
says,
is a what?
I believe it's her husband.
And he is a what?
A black man. What do you say?
Right. And she is a what?
Black woman.
And where is she?
in a prison.
For what?
For trying to kill everybody.
And why was she trying to kill everybody? To protect her black child and her black husband. Okay. So here's the trigger. You are asking me for help after I am now in jail, as Hillary put it, for doing some shit for y'all. And y'all free and I'm in jail. And now you gonna ask me, what else can I give you? I'm in jail.
Yeah.
Well, we know you could do stuff because I'm the super black woman who can do things from prison. Yeah. I'm about to get in your ass about this scene.
Why is that?
No, go on. One more scene. And
Okay,
now
so
I'm going to give you some of
scene,
what I'm feeling. Based on
it's
these
the character on Scandal, actually the white lady, the vice president, the one that sees, the mom, the bumbling the mom, Susan, who just was but and having an affair with David while he's having an affair with whatever her name. What's her name? Red. What's Red's name? Red's name is. But anyway, Red. And it's when Susan tells him off and says, "I know I'm fabulous. I don't need you to tell me I'm fabulous. I know, and that's exactly why." I am leaving your ass. You are, because, you just got dumped by the Vice President of the United States. Feel that one time. Feel that for me one time. That's what I like. So I like the whole scene, the whole setup. Yeah.
Why? What's the emotional trigger?
David doesn't believe in her, and he tells her that he does, and she says, "No, let's be real." you don't, and you haven't. And I've allowed that for too long. And now the emotional trigger is when he gave it a thought of maybe she could, if I remember right, maybe she could run for president, but he didn't really mean it, and he didn't really believe it. But that he said it, and the door opened in her brain that, I did this, and I'm here. I moved to this step. Then I moved to this step. Mm-hmm. Now I can actually change some things. Mm-hmm. And so she got her spine got straight. Mm-hmm. Her spine was wobbly, and it gets straight in this scene, and that's what when he says he screwed up because she's found out what he's done. Mm-hmm. And he's like, but I did it for you. Like, there you go. You just went left.
Everything was going so well.
So well. Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
So
that's what it feels like in the scene when he steps.
We have these 3 scenes with the strong, long-suffering woman. The woman who makes sacrifices for everybody around her, and they don't get appreciated. I got your ass to Princeton, and you left. Let me rephrase that. I got your black ass into Princeton.
Yes.
I came up with the $100,000 a year for the tuition. Princeton. I think it's 120. Don't even get me. That doesn't include housing. I found $1 million. I mortgaged my house 14 times. We will die in debt. You won't even be able to bury us. We're so in debt. So you could go to Princeton and then drop out. I am the strong black woman who's made the impossible possible, only for you, the man that is related to me, child, husband, take your pick, to fuck it up. And then turn to me again and say, can I fuck this one up too? And you're going, no. That's what's happening in the first scene. The next scene, strong black woman.
That's true.
Who has sacrificed things in the past. And now someone is coming again and saying, can you sacrifice something else? And she said, I'm going to tell you how ridiculous it is that you're asking me to sacrifice again, which is a place where we left off with the mother in Atlanta. She was just like, no. This mother is saying, okay, let me just be clear that this is what you did before, and now I'm in jail. And you need my help because I actually am the strongest, smartest person in the room. That's the new realization. And not only am I the strongest person in the room, I'm now going to allow you to know that I am. Because I knew this shit would happen. So great. I am the strongest person. You fucked up what I gave you. I made sacrifices. I got fucked up because of those sacrifices. Now I realize that you're a fucking idiot and you're going to fuck up again. But this time, you're going to give me what I deserve. And it's not going to be easy for you. Because if I'm correct, a lot of people lose a lot of money and have to risk a lot of shit for her to end up on that plane going to her own island. Mm-hmm. They have to risk their necks in a way that she no longer has to. Because what she needs to do is a couple of phone calls. As I recall, it's getting Olivia, who's being bid on, to the highest bidder. It's getting her out.
That's true.
And it's her mom does with a few. What she has to do to fix up their big fuck up is easy. She actually didn't need to ask for a favor. It would have been 2 phone calls. But never again will you use the strong, smart woman and it not cost you. That's a new transition. And now, finally, with Susan, I may not have been clear about how fabulous I was. I thought I was. But clearly, I wasn't, because I chose you. So here's the new thing. While I was choosing you and then also making this choice for me that worked out, I also found out, oh my God, I'm more fabulous than I thought I was. And in that realization, I realized how fabulous you're not. And now I'm going to take action on that. So she's at a similar place as Mama Pope. Oh, okay. Right. You guys needed me to become president to fix some shit that y'all fucked up. Did y'all murder somebody? Okay. So y'all needed me to become vice president to fix up something y'all messed up. And y'all thought I wouldn't be good at it. And I knew I would, because I believe in real shit. And then I was really good at it. Okay. So I solved one problem for you that you're never acknowledging that I solved the problem for you. This is the first time that she's like, I knew y'all was fucking, you were choosing me as like a scapegoat. I knew, but I used that. Right? This is a moment in which the strong woman is going, let me explain to you how I understand that I win this. Because you don't understand yet that I won. You stupid to begin with.
You fucked her. You were fucking someone else.
And using me as a political pawn.
Using me, yes.
And now that I'm the big dog and that I actually can win again for president without you, I realize how small you are. So you know what? This new deal is going to cost you something. It's going to cost you me and your job. It's the strong woman coming to this realization that being gratuitously strong, just because you are smart and strong, it's stupid. You should get paid for that. You should get treated the way you deserve to be treated and it not be a sacrifice. You don't have to be strong and smart and powerful and be the sacrificial lamb. You can be strong and powerful and win, both emotionally and in physical life and spiritually, karmically. You can win. You don't need to sacrifice. As my hashtag Black Lady Therapist says, just because you're strong and you could do it by yourself and you don't need nobody's money doesn't mean that you should. You're so smart. You're so pretty. You hold it all together. There should be somebody celebrating that and financing it, right? Because you deserve that. Do you need that? No. But let's not let that get in the way of the fact that something in you thinks you don't deserve it. So that's why you're saying you don't need it. Of course you don't need it. Oprah don't need Stedman, but she deserves it. Oprah don't need $50 billion, but she deserves it. Like, she really doesn't. What's the difference between 2 billion and 50? It's not a leap. She doesn't need it. Oprah doesn't need Weight Watchers to lose weight. She has a fucking chef and a fucking garden in the back where they can be like, we could grow some gluten-free shit for you right there. She don't need Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers need her to make the stocks jump up and down. She's doing them a favor and helping fat women everywhere who can't afford a chef. She don't need Weight Watchers, but the women that watch her show do, so she gonna do that. And then she can help Weight Watchers at the same time and get more richer and more richer and more richer. It's a woman coming into her worth. And the way that I say I'm gonna get, like, Black women have the strong Black woman thing. It's so old. It's so tired. It's the superwoman. It's the flip version of white women have the I'm gonna be perfect. Or if you're Hillary, you're like born with both, and you're just like this 95-year-old like suffragette from Connecticut with a white husband who's a Rockefeller, but you won't take his money because you're marching up and down being a suffragette. Okay. And you're also a Black woman in the fields picking cotton, putting pennies in a can to send your children to the Ivy League school. And then your children graduate from the Ivy League school. And they buy you a house in the suburbs. You're like, I can't live in no house in the suburbs with a driver and a chef and a cook and a garden in the back. And they're like, well, why? I don't need that. You're like, but mama, you deserve it. Like, that's just as bad as a suffragette not letting your husband Rockefeller buy her a fucking house. Like, seriously? Just because you're strong doesn't mean you should have to be long suffering. It's old. It's an old trope. And my only thing on that long-suffering strong woman is that what I like about the examples that you chose is that usually we stop with, I'm the strong, long-suffering woman, and I'm not having it anymore. Well, you wouldn't have the long-suffering part of that if you didn't allow yourself to suffer for a long time. And your characters are realizing, no, I don't have to be noble. I don't have to be the noble, fat, or black, or chubby, or not as pretty, really smart, gifted, fabulous person that suffers and fixes everybody's problems. I don't have to be any of that anymore. I actually just get to be fabulous. No long suffering included. Ooh. That's the chord. I actually get to be just as fabulous as I am, get all the things that are coming to me, no long suffering included. Everyone around me actually needs to pay the cost, the gatekeeper, to get access to me. I will no longer go without to provide for you. That's why I'm moving to another country. I was like, I deserve somebody to bring me some peppermint tea in a row and then cook me a meal from scratch. I deserve that. Could I do it? Yes. If my stepmother were here, she'd go in the kitchen and help them. But I didn't have to. I don't care that it's 3:00 in the morning and I just came up in the van this 4 hours late. If the man in the room said, I want to make you something from scratch and put it in the oven and bake it and then make you some homemade bread, I am to say yes, because I deserve it. Because haven't you been traveling all night long? Aren't you tired? Didn't you come from another country? Aren't you jet lagged? Haven't you been saving for 5 years to take this trip? Yes. Then let me make you bread in my oven outside. It's cold. I will make the bread. But I shouldn't let you do that. You deserve it. Let me. It's the realization that if you are long suffering because you think you're black, you ugly, you're fat, all these things. If you are long suffering, that is actually a choice that you no longer have to make. I get to be fabulous, brilliant, the smartest, most beautiful, most gifted person in the room, no long suffering included. That's what's great about that.
That's great. That's true.
Because the approach would have been, just gonna complain about how the black man do me. I'm just gonna complain. Well, you know, he wouldn't leave you with all them children if you wrapped his dick in a condom. I mean, you wouldn't be fighting him for child support if you wasn't having a baby with somebody you're not married to. Because if you're married to him, the court would just take it. That would be that. They would just take it. But because you ain't married to him, okay. Or you chose the guy that already had 4 babies from some people he wasn't married to. Even if he wanted to have money for you, he probably can't have any money for you because he's paying for them. So if you're going to complain about him, that makes no sense because you chose him. It's a new trope. Shonda's like, okay, that's great. That's good. That's good. So you're not going to do right. I'm going to go get me a woman or somebody white. Anybody that's going to bring me breakfast in bed. Okay, great. It's a new trope. I don't get to be overlooked anymore or taken for granted for whatever reason. Because I am the most brilliant, most gifted person in the room. No long suffering included.
Even though if I'm not the most fabulous person in the room for the first one, it still holds true when you say, I'm done with that phase. That's what as I'm thinking about it. That's what she's saying. I'm done. We're done with that phase. Ern.
And thank you so much for helping me through that.
Yeah.
Because now I know that you don't deserve to be here either. Okay, bye-bye.
Right.
My insecurity and you need to take a walk. And then that's when he falls in love with her, which I think is just genius.
Yeah.
You whiny little nebbishy, scared motherfucker, just trying to fuck the Goyim girl so you can say I fucked the Goyim girl. See, that's what's actually not articulated in that episode. I think it's very fabulous that those two characters are both portrayed as Jewish and the redhead as a Gentile.
Yeah.
And so Shonda says everything she needs to say without really saying it. Oh, so you was doing me like that. It's the black woman, white woman thing again. You was doing me like that because I'm the fat little Jewish girl with the hairy lip. Okay. You stay with that little Goyim girl who ain't figured out she powerful yet. And we're going to see what happens. I'm the president. She's still mad she not Libya.
So
that's the chord. And Shona, you actually do walk into the room. Well, of course, I'm the most brilliant person here. I'm just brilliant. And and I'll explain to you why I know what I know. And then everybody's like, oh, I didn't really know that. You're just like, well, that's just a given. That's just what it is. This is what I know. And I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to allow you to know that I know this thing. Because clearly it must be an easier way to do these things. Because I'm not going to be doing this process with you guys and being long-suffering. I think that there's an alternative way. But now, you're like, look, she said, now I'm going to get into class and I'm going to get some fucking TV work for all this shit I know. Enough of this motherfucking theater shit. But they're trying to pay me $400. What? Shit, after taxes, I gave the agents some money, the managers. I got $300. I worked a long time. Now Shonda's like, and I am cute. Put my ass on TV. It paid me $1,600 for them 3 hours. Look, we have to find a name for this other woman that you are, Hillary. She's like 80.
No, I was just saying she needs a camera on that face so she can go make some money.
You truly do.
Right now.
You need to listen to Miss Myrna over here. Miss Myrna no thing. Miss Myrna no. All you need is your church hat, Hillary. Miss Myrna no thing. She in the background like this. Or send a chat. And that shit is what? Okay.
Teacher one, I gotta I'm gonna have to get off in like 10 minutes.
We're done. Unless y'all got questions.
Wait, yeah.
She didn't go. Hillary, did you go?
No, it's okay. I'm good. I've gotten through my chords.
Hillary has done all this. We are creating this class together. Based on what y'all teach us.
What?
Yeah.
I feel cheated.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. What's your chord?
I feel cheated.
Well, Hillary, you have to share your chord. I've shared one chord. Share your chord.
One of the chords that's really easy for me to play is the unwavering truth teller. Whether it's the actual truth of the situation or not, it's my truth. So my truth is all that matters.
Is that it? Is that it?
I can play that really well.
Okay, good.
And no negotiations involved.
Yeah, there are no negotiations. It's really clear. I'm going to get my way before we all leave the scene. And I know that going in, and I need to bring everybody else up to speed.
Okay.
But I can play that with my eyes closed.
You can justify anything. All of those people in that van needed to die so I could live.
I can play that. I can. Yeah.
All right, my ladies. Let's talk about homework for next week.
Okay, homework for next week. After you had me writing every morning, I don't know if I could do the homework. Okay.
Oh, it will be so great. It will be so great. Now.
And only though that I get up at 4:45 to go to work, I don't know how much writing I'm going to do. I guess I got to be doing it at work.
Does anybody else hear violins? Okay.
I didn't hear them.
Okay, you better shut up. Okay. So these scenes that y'all chose today, I would like you to transcribe those scenes. But here's how I want you to transcribe them. I want you to go in, put Belle, Nova, and who was the other one? Antoinette?
The
Belle,
gladiator, what's his name? I can't.
Yeah.
and the gladiator. And I want you to write down just their lines in a
I
paragraph.
don't know if he even has lines in that scene when he's floating. He's dreaming.
Well, then I guess you better find Nova and our Belle.
Fine, well, okay.
Just their lines.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to get a copy of the whole scene so somebody can do the scene with you.
What scene?
All I want you to do is write down there. I don't want you to do any research on the scenes. I don't want you to do no memorizing, no crafting. Just write down the scenes and send them to me. Now, if you're lucky, like Shona, you went to the Dream Unlocked size page, shit is already written for you. Just download it.
Well, you said there's one from her breaking up with the guy.
Yep. So
Nova.
go to that size page
All right.
and just download it.
Okay.
And that's what you will email me before class next week. Your other homework is to finish answering these questions in the morning pages. So every day, I'm going to find that video and I will load it here where I talk about the morning pages.
So when you're saying the morning pages, I'm just writing. I'm not pretty much answering the questions about the scenes we picked. We're just writing about things.
The first thing that comes up, but I do want you to start writing about the first thing that comes up when you think about these scenes.
These 3 questions she has on here, I think, are what she's asking.
Right.
Okay.
You see recurring themes. What are they? What are the themes that keep coming up? What are the situations under which, just write about the scenes. What are the situations under which this gets triggered? If you think about Susan in that scene with the lawyer, what triggers her understanding? What triggers that change? What triggers him thinking about, what triggers Belle wondering whether or not these people really love her that makes her, what triggers this feeling of loss of love because of something that you are? What is the trigger? What causes you to feel that? So that you can start to identify them in scenes faster when you pick up audition material. The quicker you get at identifying your triggers, the quicker it will be to do the scene. And that only happens by looking at scenes and writing about it. Looking at scenes and that is the emotional prep. Looking at the scenes and writing about it. Really getting a hold of the emotional chords that are hot for you. Because once you can put it in, you can frame it. I mean, I just worked on a press release for my part yesterday, my part that I'm doing in this next show. And I said to the PR person, I said, have you gone to my emotional chords page? I gave you that. I was like, the irony of this is that the name of the episode is Justice. My major chord is fighting for justice for the women and children who have been abused by men who can't protect themselves. I run an organization. The whole episode is about me getting bull to take care of a woman who's been domestically abused, who then killed her damn husband while he was asleep. Because that was the only time that she could get the gun. He'd been busting her chicken. I think, like, the irony is not lost on me that I got that job on offer from a director who'd never worked with me. And it's it's the trajectory of where we want to go. I was talking to my reel editor about this. Because he puts together, I don't watch myself. I just say to my reel editor, this is what's happening. Or I'll give him the DVDs from a show, or I'll say, download this and blah, blah, blah from the network and do it. And I was like, this is the story I want you to tell. Chord 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you hit those chords? Great. I want you to make a reel that feels like a movie about my chords. So that when somebody watches it, the experience they leave with is, she know how to stand up for the right shit. She know, like, so that your chords inherently resonate. And that people, when they cast you or they look at the reel, they don't know why. They just know you could do this. They just know you could do it. That's not an accident. That's actually very intentional. And when I've worked with clients and taken them all the way through the process, we cut and edit reels to make them tell that story. And oddly enough, the really funny thing that taught me that was doing a Kickstarter campaign. Because when you do a Kickstarter campaign, when you launch any product, you actually need to brand your product. That's all the emotional type is. It is branding who you are as an artist. From the colors you choose, to the outfits you choose, to the content you choose to demonstrate what you can do. You are choosing a brand. And the most important part of a Kickstarter, because a Kickstarter is exactly like launching a production company. It's exactly like launching a movie. It's all choosing a brand and selling it and getting a following and getting people to give you money. It's the same process.
I did a GoFundMe.
If you're really going to do it, you're going to start branding you.
Yeah,
You're going to write letters asking for shit about you.
Wow.
You're going to make a video asking for shit about you. And it was this videographer. I interviewed people who did Kickstarters. They all told me to get a phrase, get some colors, brand it. And then the videographer said, what is it that you are doing? Well, I'm trying to get money to produce this play. What is the play about? Why are you writing? I want to tell the story of how historical events impact people and force them to become political. He's like, then the video should be a Ken Burns documentary. I was like, what? It was an amazing concept. He's like, absolutely. You're not just being a playwright or just being an actor saying, oh, just give me some money for acting. You are using art to be a historian. And I was like, how did you get this? He was like, I read your artist statement about, I was like, it was all things that, he's like, if you look at your materials in whole, that's what you're telling me. Like the story that you tell is you going into the archive and the archivist at the museum saying, you're an archivist, go tell the story of our history. It's like, you say it. You just needed somebody to say to you, that's the brand. So make things around that brand that look like, and I was like, oh. And it was very effective. People gave me money, not because I was a playwright or an actor, but because I was a historian. So when I tell people about their reels, I was like, what are you? What does your reel do? It's a way that it's organized. Is there music? Is there not? Is there montage? Should the scenes be forward? People ask me all these things about the requirement for a reel. The requirement of the reel depends on your brand. And that's where we're headed. Even down to the clothes you wear. Everything that's on your reel is not everything you've done. Everything that's on my reel is not everything I've done. But everything that I need to show you to brand me is there. I need you to catch that. And if you're doing it right, you will get called in for shit. And anything you second guessed about yourself will go out the window. For example, hair. Everybody in graduate school said, April, you must have hair. My agent said you must have hair. My manager said you must have hair. My first agent said you must have hair. My next manager said you must have hair. Every single director that cast me in whatever was a breakthrough in my career asked me to shave my head. Because you are a bohemian intellectual fighting for justice. What? I was like, how did they know that? Other people taught me what my brand was. Every single time. And I was like, okay, so let's not fight this. What does the bald head say? Even though I'm not wearing it all the time. That is what resonates because it resonates with the chord, a major chord. So the idea is to start thinking of what you feel, what you believe, what you move in the world as your brand. So I want you to start writing about that because eventually I'm going to have you do your own mission statement about your brand. And it's going to be very fabulous. I want you to think of it as your TED Talk. This is what I know to be true. I don't know much, but I know this. I always say about Capricorns, they'll be mad at Capricorns. They're like, yeah, I'm always right. No, we're not. There's a lot of shit I don't know about. But one thing I do know about is my chord. And I'm going to tell you about it. Lots of love. Let me tell you how it works. This is my mission. When you move through that, the next work becomes fabulous. I'm going to ask my other clients, Angela and Modesto and Garland, if they would allow me to share their mission statements because they had to do this. And they were like, what? And I was like, yes. Turn on the video on YouTube, make your mission statement. You can hide the video. It was very interesting. It really helped them find their chords after that. Like, why am I the artist that I am? What do I believe? What do I know to be true? All right. We're at 7:24. Do y'all have questions? I'm getting tons of chats. That is cool. Our own TED Talk. That's what Shona said. Yeah, y'all gonna have a TED Talk, girl. will you do a reel for this class? Well, not by the end of this class, 'cause that's a hell of a lot of work. But in the classes that you're going to take with me in the future, yes, we will do a reel with my real guy, because he good. And anything you don't have in your footage, we make. It actually does not have to be that complicated. My client, LaTanya Grant, you can go to her page, has an amazing scene. From what's the Marvel show with the pretty chocolate black man that needs to be licked off a plate?
Cage.
Yay!
Look, I didn't even have to say that. What's the Marvel show with the black man that needs to be licked up? The chocolate black man. Look at
Yay!
Yeah, we went to school together. I hate him. He really looks like that in real life. I hate him. We created reels with stuff from their emotional chords. We shaped it, we structured it, we auditioned, we rehearsed it, and then we set it and we let him light it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have a minute. I can show you Tanya's. I mean, this scene, because this is clearly the one that she worked. The others, not as well. But she chose Misty, because she, in her chords, and from Insecure. The intellectual, smart girl from around the way that nobody actually really believes that she's intellectual because she's from around the way.
Right.
And I was like, now I need you to curse her out like a girl from around the way, but as an intellectual. Totally reframed how she played that. It's really unique how she does it. It's genius. But that comes from a year of chords work. I was like, you can't play Insecure like she do Insecure. You got to play it like you. Like you. She's like, oh shit. Okay. So y'all can look her up another time. It's on YouTube.
Find it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she got a bunch of reels. I don't know if this is the one we worked on, but
Beautiful.
I should be out there doing my job.
Your job is out there waiting for you, detective. The question is, how badly do you want it?
You with the department? You a shrink?
I was on the job 15 years. I left to become a psychologist. I'm with the Peer Assistance Program. I'm a volunteer.
Well, how about I volunteer my way out of this chair, tell you to kiss my ass, and go talk to my union rep?
Oh, you could do that, sure.
so
All right.
great. She rehearsed the fuck out of that. And she used this technique. I was like, stop memorizing, stop structuring. Because she just graduated from the Esper, of course, so she was trying to do Meisner. I was like, that don't work for TV. Pipe down. But it was a great jumping off point for her. And you don't think of her as Misty Knight. You think of her, oh, who is this girl? She's doing this cop thing. Who is this? Right? Yeah, Brent does a really nice job. Does a really nice. And this was great for Juan. And then Juan played the cop in that scene from Queen Sugar that you chose, Antoinette.
Mm-hmm.
He played the cop in that scene. He played the cop in that scene, which was great for him because he's like, I like black people. They all good. Whatever. That you ain't gonna do this shit. Oh, you kind of said because I'm white. Oh, now I'm white. But when you was loving me, I wasn't white. Like, he was great. He totally got it. He was like, black girls always trying to pull that shit. I like black women. You a woman. Don't be trying to pull the race card. It's amazing. So he was great. It was right in his chords. He's like, I get that. What? Don't be trying to pull that white shit. You know you wrong. It was great. Questions, thoughts, comments? I'm gonna see y'all next week.
You said to ask you at the end of the class about.
You got something to ask me?
Huh?
You got something to ask me?
You said about the travel. I remember you said ask you at the end of the class about
Oh
the.
Lord, let me stop. This is another. You buying too many programs for me. I can't keep up with all this.